Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to break down something super important for anyone who works at heights. OSHA's rule on fall protection training. We'll cut through all the legal jargon and get right to what you actually need to know. So let's just start with a really simple question. Does your team ever work above ground level? If you answered yes, and that could be on a roof, on scaffolding, pretty much any elevated surface, then you are absolutely in the right place. This is for you. All right, let's dive right in. First things first, we're going to cover the basics. What exactly is this rule, and who is it designed to protect? So at its heart, this OSHA standard requires employers to have a real functioning fall protection training program. And let me be clear, this is not optional. It's a mandatory program for any company where employees could face fall hazards. The goal? It's actually pretty straightforward, but it's so important. To make sure that every single worker has the knowledge to see fall hazards and the skills to deal with them. Okay, so what actually has to be in this training? That's a great question, and OSHA is very specific about this. It covers a whole range of essential topics that every employee needs to know. As you can see, this is way more than just a quick lesson on how to wear a harness. The training has to be really comprehensive. We're talking about teaching workers to spot the specific fall hazards at their job site. They need to know the right way to do everything with their safety systems, from setting them up, to inspecting them, to taking them down. It covers all the bases, right down to each employee's specific role in the company's fall protection plan. So you've done the training. You're all done, right? Well, not so fast. Your responsibility doesn't end there. You have to be able to prove it. So this next part is all about how you document everything to show you're in compliance. You know, the easiest way to think about this documentation is to picture it like a driver's license, but for working at heights. It's that official piece of paper, that written record that proves an employee has the training and is qualified to do their job safely up there. And OSHA makes this pretty simple. It's a clear 3-step process. First, you need a written certification record for every single employee who goes through the training. Second, that record has to have 3 key things: the employee's name, the date they were trained, and the signature of the person who trained them. And third, you have to keep the most up-to-date certification on file for everyone on the team. But here's the thing. Safety training isn't a one-and-done deal. Workplaces change, equipment changes, and people forget things. So OSHA has identified specific situations, or triggers, that mean you are legally required to retrain your employees. Okay, so trigger number 1 is when the workplace itself changes. This could mean anything really. Maybe new hazards pop up, or you start doing a different kind of project. Anything that makes that old training not quite complete anymore. Trigger number 2 is all about the gear. If you bring in a new kind of fall protection system, or maybe even just a different brand of harness that works a little differently, guess what? It's time for a skills refresh to make sure everyone knows how to use that specific equipment correctly. And trigger number 3, this one is all about what you see on the job. If you notice an employee isn't using their equipment the right way, or they just seem to have forgotten a key part of their training, that's a huge red flag. You're required to get them retrained immediately. It's about making sure that knowledge is actually being put into practice. So we've talked about the what, the how, and the when. Now let's talk about the why. Because really understanding what's at stake here is how you build a true culture of safety, not just a checklist. Look, at the end of the day, all the rules, all the paperwork, it all boils down to one simple fundamental reason: protecting people. This is not about just checking a box to avoid a fine. It's about a core responsibility. It's about making sure that every single person on your team gets to go home safe at the end of every workday, period. And that really brings us to the final and most critical question. It's something every manager, every business owner should be asking themselves. Is your team's safety knowledge truly up to date, or are there gaps that you need to fix before an accident happens? Answering that question honestly, that's the first step to a truly safe workplace. Thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown.
If you found this helpful or want to stay updated when this regulation changes, subscribe and support the channel. And if you need the full technical details on this CFR, click the link in the description below. See you next time.